Hi, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. What the fuck is normal? I want magic. Today with a tea, so feel free to grab a tea as well. This is gonna be a really laissez-faire, informal podcast where I mainly would like to share and reflect with you on my past year, which has been one of the toughest year around the sun. So it's my birthday this week. Again, last year for my birthday, I started this podcast. So it's been a year, another year around the sun, and it's been quite a tough one with a lot of shadow work, shadow integration, a lot of truth coming to the surface, a lot of me standing up for my truth. And there are basically three key takeaways, three main reflections that I would like to share with you in today's episode. So grab your tea or your ice cream, it's still summer, or whatever you feel like, and dive in with me here. So the first reflection that I have about the last year is Kundalini sells, truth reveals. So as many of you know, it's been more or less a year where I really detached myself from any kind of Kundalini work. So not only using the word in my marketing, it's not just a marketing strategy. It's really detaching myself from what is being practiced within the bubble of Kundalini in this world, simply because it's actually something I've never learned and I've never done myself. My teachers, they, especially my main teacher, Ivan Roa, he has never taught me anything in regards to Kundalini. And even my other spiritual teacher, Heidi, when she was training us, she was already also not teaching what is currently being taught around Kundalini yoga, Kundalini activation, anything that is in that realm. So it's something I've never learned, but I did use the word in my marketing for quite some time, and I don't have any regrets. But considering of what is going on in this world, and I will not talk too much about this because I already talked about this in one of my episodes, which is called Goodbye Kundalini. So if you want to know the reasoning why I left this world, you can listen back to that episode. But the main thing that I want to say is that since I did that, and since I detached myself really from that world, let's say, from that word and world, I realized that, I also left a current trend. I left a hype that is currently going on that sells. It's kind of Kundalini there. And even my business mentor, she told me, if I was to give you an advice, a purely business-driven advice, I would tell you, keep the word Kundalini in your marketing. However, if you want to live your truth, it's not the path. And this is something that I realized. It's sometimes, especially when you do this work, you come to a crossroad where you really need to decide, okay, do I follow a hype? Do I follow what works? Do I follow what people want? Do I follow what seems to be selling? Or do I follow my path, my truth? And I decided to keep following my path, my truth. And while I don't have any regrets, I also did realize that it's, I lost people along the way, which again also is normal. When you live your truth, some people will align with that truth, and some people will mourn the person you used to be. And they will realize that what you did before, or the person you were before, was more aligned with who they are. And that's totally fine as well. It's just a misalignment. It's just the more you get into your truth, the more you will attract the people that really resonate with that truth. And from my experience, I can tell you it's usually the people that are also living their truth that will resonate, that will keep resonating with you the more you are in your truth. And the people that just wanted something from you, or that benefited in one way or another from the person you used to be, or the things you used to do when you were not so much in your truth, those are the people that will usually leave. And they will usually also be triggered the more you get into your truth, because it's a reflection for them how they are not in their truth. And some people will feel inspired by that, and some people will feel hugely triggered and just leave. And also that is totally fine. Like everything is fine. Basically, everything that I'm saying today, there's absolutely no judgment in one way or another. It's purely my observation, my reflection of what has been going on for me in the last year. And yeah, so truth strips you naked. Truth makes you vulnerable. Truth is scary. It is really scary, and it keeps being scary for me. And at the same time, there's no other path for me to go than this one. So yeah, truth. So it reveals your deepest wounds, it reveals your vulnerabilities, it reveals where you are still not being in your truth. It reveals everything that you are not. I think that's the beauty of truth. It has a lot to do with actually letting go of the layers and of everything you are not, so that you can get to this core, to this eternal you that you are. And that core, that eternal you, is what I call SONA. So SONA is basically the you without the trauma, without the conditioning, without all the stories, and even without all these different identities that we put upon ourselves. So SONA is your pure soul frequency. It's pure consciousness embodied in this 3D world. The pure version, without, as I said, all the human story behind. And SONA is new, and SONA is my truth. And I gave birth to SONA beginning of this year. And it's been a journey of revelations, and it's something that people cannot grasp as much as Kundalini, because Kundalini is something you can put into Google and it will give you a lot of different concepts and methods and people who are practicing it, and somehow it gives people safety because there is something, a concept you can find about it. And with SONA, I left that kind of safety net, and it's really just me and my truth, and that's kind of a new space that I've been opening that is empty and that needs some, I don't want to say explanation, but that wants to be fed. Fed with my frequency, fed with my SONA, fed with, with anything that feels aligned with what it stands for. So this is, my first reflection of last year. It's whatever path you are on right now, think about it, reflect on the question, am I doing this because it sells? And that can be your job, it can be your, if you're self-employed, it can be your business. Basically, am I doing this for money, or am I really expressing my truth? Am I fully claiming my truth here? Is this really aligned with who I am and with what I want? Then my second reflection from last year is that relationships, and especially romantic relationships, are the toughest and most intense, is one of the most intense spiritual practice you can actually do. Let me take a sip here. Because this is gonna be, it's quite a journey. Relationships are a journey, I'm not gonna lie. So, we are all mirrors to each other. And because at the end of the day, we are all one. We are one big consciousness that is being expressed in this physical vessel uniquely. And yes, we can identify with this spiritual vessel, with this physical vessel, but at the same time, we can also leave it, and we can identify with what we actually are, which is everything. It's that big uniting one consciousness, if you want to call it God, or if you just want to call it, pure consciousness or universe, whatever word resonates with you. And that means we are all one. So we are all mirrors for each other. And this mirror is, let's say, becomes a very big mirror in the closer or the more intimate your relationship is. That can be with a friend that is very close to you, but that often is your romantic partner. And I got to realize that I would have not grown the way I had grown in the last year without my partner, Patrick. And but besides all the work I'm doing on myself and all the work that I'm also offering to people, the number one learning opportunity is always, and growing opportunity is given to me through this relationship, through seeing where am I really at, like going to these workshops and retreats and all of these things. There are always usually this more high vibe spaces where you come together with like-minded people and you work on yourself and you learn about whatever and you do your meditations and everything. But your relationship is the place where you go home and you practice and you see where do I really stand with all of that? Where do I really stand with being in my truth, speaking my truth, setting my boundaries, being honest not only with my partner but also with myself, living from love and not from attachment. Like all these questions and all these things that we try to practice, self-love. These are all these things that really show up in romantic relationships, and that has been a very tough ride. Always, but especially in the last year, because I think also due to the work that Patrick and me do, which is, working a lot with people and on their evolution, let's say, it's like the world or the universe asks us to step up even more our own game. It's like if you want to hold spaces for people make sure you've done your homework, right? Like make sure you've done the work first. And because Patrick and me are doing this kind of very deep work with people, it's like we need to somehow be a step ahead of our own game. So, and while we are very eager and we proactively also go to retreats and all of that, it is really the relationship itself that reveals us where we are. Where are we still stuck in patterns that we've learned as survival strategy when we were kids? Where are we still pleasing? Where are we not setting our boundaries? Where are we projecting? So it's a crazy ride. And the main thing that it showed me in the last year was one of my biggest shadows, which is attachment in regards to needing validation from the outside and needing safety from the outside rather than finding that safety within myself. It is a sense of feeling very insecure about myself, about my work, about everything. And I know some people will not feel that because I've worked a lot on that, and they would say, wow, I never thought that you were insecure about what you do or about yourself. But deep inside, I'm very, very, very insecure. And and that very much shows up in relationships, which then for me turns into some kind of attachment, where I then stop feeling what is it that I really want, who am I even, and I do not set my boundaries. I rather overstep my own wishes and my own needs just to feel safe. So it's like my main majority is just make sure to feel safe, not to be rejected, not to be left. And that was a huge work I had to do, because it also came with physical with some kind of physical issues that I had throughout the winter. And I was really at the bottom. And there was a time, quite a few nights and days where I really thought this life is not for me anymore. I don't want to live. And I'm saying this very openly and honestly because I know that I'm not alone with that. And I know that speaking it out does not only help me, but also helps the people that are listening to this. So these days are real, and I will not deny it. And yet, the importance for me in this situation is to just feel it, to allow myself to feel even this really crappy feeling of not wanting to be alive, not knowing how to continue, thinking that leaving this world and leaving this body now and going back to where we come from is 1,000 times easier than to continue this life. And I just felt it through, and I got help. I also started to go to therapy, which is something I haven't done in the past, and really work on this safety, this attachment, this feeling of feeling safe, and finding that safety within myself rather than outsourcing it. So that was a big one. And it's still ongoing. And I can only say, as a conclusion of all of this, when you look for your spiritual teacher, see what kind of private life they have. Are they in a relationship? Do they have kids? Because honestly, like all the work that you're doing, it shows up in real life. And real life is usually, where we are most vulnerable, where we are in relationship with one another, in intimate relationships, where, we have kids, where we are mothers, fathers, where, where like basically in situations where really we are being pushed to our limits. This is where the real work will show. And I got a really amazing advice, which was whenever you look for your next spiritual teacher, or a spiritual teacher in general, look at, don't focus on the light. Don't focus on the light, focus on how much and how well they have managed to integrate their shadows. Because ultimately this is also what gives them their light. And yeah, I thought it was a good one that I wanted to share. Okay, that was number 2. Number 3 is truth above all. Reflection number 3, truth above all. The word truth has been so much around. And yeah, let me take another sip of my tea. Truth. What is truth, first of all? So truth, first of all, I would say is there something like an absolute truth, an ultimate truth? I don't know. And everything I'm saying here is not, I'm not saying it because I claim to have the ultimate truth, but I do believe that there is some kind of a North Star. There is a deeper truth than what we are living now. There is your truth. And I believe there is some kind of purity that we can evolve into, let's say. And that purity I often see in kids. Why in kids, especially until the age of 7? Because this is the time when their ego is not yet developed to its fullest, when they are not full of their own stories and their own identities. They live much more in the we. And this is why kids are often also experienced and seen as pure, because they are. And this purity is for me truth. So for me, standing up for my truth also means somehow to find back that inner child inside of me, that small Mona that just was, you know. That's the beauty of kids also. They just are. They are in the moment. And that for me is what I mean when I say truth. So also when I talk about SONA, it is really about evolving into this childhood-like state again, where we are not in our story, not in our identity, not working on a trauma, but we reconnect to that wholeness, to that oneness, to that state of being connected with everything and everyone, and at the same time expressing our unique being. So it's that kind of, we move away from separation and we move into integration, where we can be everything, you know, not just a physical body, not just love and light and pure consciousness, but we are everything at the same time. And that for me is SONA. And what remained for me also, after I had to somehow let go of all these concepts and stories and who am I really and all of that, I realized that the one thing that remained and will always remain is dance. Dance is my purest expression, and dance is what connects me with everything and everyone, where I go into a state of being everyone and no one at the same time. It's just the ultimate spiritual practice and the ultimate human practice, and it's just the ultimate for me. And I know that deep inside, no matter what happens in my life, dance will always remain. And this is also why I decided that I will have a bigger focus on dance. I will integrate it more into my work, and I'm actually right now on a mission to to bring dance into this world, not only as some kind of somatic release, not only as some joyful act that we are doing, which is all beautiful, but also as a process, as a way to create our realities, to manifest. Because dance is a practice where we can visualize something and at the same time feel it and express it through our movement, where we can move energy ourselves, but we can also let ourselves be moved through energy. And all of this is when we then go into a state of oneness. And this is the state where we manifest, where we create our realities. And this is why my upcoming SONA raves are going to be all about that. They're going to be using dance as a creative process, as a process to actually create ourselves, our realities, our lives, and really figuring out what else is possible with dance. And it's something that the ancients already did. And Korea, for example, is the Korean shamanism used dance in many ways, and one of the ways was that. And I feel this is something that wants to come alive and be shared in this timeline that we're in right now as well. And I feel the deep calling to that it wants to come through me. And yeah, it's one of my big projects. And I literally do not care if I will end up with, 3 people, 20 people, 50 people in the room. I just feel it's time for me to bring dance out in that way. And I believe that all the work that I've done so far they were all steps to bring me where I am today, which is combining consciousness work, meditation, and movement dance in a unique way. And I can't wait to do that. So point 3, ultimate truth. And the question for you here would be, what is your ultimate truth? What is your one thing where no matter what will happen, no matter what will fall away in your life, what remains always? And ask yourself, how much do I integrate that in my life so far? Yeah. So my 3 reflections from the last year, as I said, tough with very dark periods, and at the same time so liberating and revealing and eye-opening and a reconnection to myself. And it's an ongoing journey. And I thank you for everyone who's been with me on this journey, also for listening or watching this. And I can't wait to be connecting with you very soon. Enjoy your tea.